With Universal presumably releasing their last land based video where they present elements of various lands coming to Epic Universe, we're kind of left wondering what we're going to hear from Universal next in terms of potentially an opening timeline and other details about the park. Well, it seems like we may have an idea, perhaps, of how we'll get some more details about things coming to Epic Universe through Universal's own podcast, as they had an episode about Celestial Park where they revealed quite a bit of details about this area. And I think that's something to look at here and go over, because I think it's actually kind of a cool thing to take a look at as we get ready to hear, hopefully, sometime soon about an opening timeline for Epic Universe. So I have an article here from WDWNT.com, and we're going to outline what they talk about here. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. Like I said, this article is from a recent interview on the Discover Universal podcast, and Universal creatives were on that show, and they revealed some new details about the story and a nighttime show that will be part of Celestial Park. So J.C. Cloward, assistant director, and Catherine Jean, director of creative, appeared on the podcast to talk about Celestial Park. Jean described it as a world between worlds powered by the Kronos machine, which has mysterious origins. The Kronos draws power from the universe to sustain the enchantment of vitality of Celestial Park and open the portals to Epic Universe's other worlds. Guests will enter Epic Universe below the Kronos, as seen in the concept art, which we've already seen before. But I just want to say, first off, I've gotten to the point now where I appreciate the fact that this isn't like, it's just not another IP thing. Like, this is an original idea. And so it's kind of taking my, like, the more I've read about this stuff, it kind of takes my brain a second to wrap around that this entire park, not just the lands, obviously the each land, and I'm not saying IPs aren't something that people want in the parks. I enjoy various IPs in theme parks, but it's nice to think about this whole park itself is an original concept idea, and that Celestial Park is like playing this other role, and it's telling a story. Like, the whole park is telling a story. I just love the idea of that. First off, I just want to say that I think that's a very cool thing. Says Cloward adds that Celestial Park is the connective tissue of the worlds, and that the Kronos is a whirling, moving machine. A vendor in Italy is creating the device, and Cloward said they recently saw a test video of it spinning. They also refer to the machine as a celestial cipher. Though we don't know who built the Kronos, we do know it's very old. People have come to live in Celestial Park and maintain the device, as well as the land. These residents are known as Celestians. They figured out how to build the park's other portals. So, as somebody who, one of the things I have an interest in outside of just theme parks and pop culture things is like ancient civilizations. So, to me, this is very much like an ancient civilization type of idea. So, I personally love this idea that the Kronos is this thing that they just happened upon. They found it, and it does these, it makes me think of like ancient Egypt, like things that may have been found in the use. So I think that's a cool idea. I really do. Because it would have been really easy, by the way, to just pop up this new theme park, say, here's the land you can go into, and just call it a day. I mean, essentially kind of what Universal Orlando is. Islands of Adventure has a little bit more theming to it, but the first park there was that. So they went above and beyond. I like the idea of this. I think it's pretty cool. Cloward described the process of stepping from Celestial Park into one of the IP-based lands as an experience. The portals will start with Celestial Park theming, but guests will then pass plasma screens that will make them feel like they're walking through swirling nebula gas. Says, quote, I feel, and many of us feel, it will revolutionize theme parks moving forward. Cloward said of Epic Universe and Celestial Park. He added, quote, putting the park aspect back into theme parks was more than just a statement. It was a driving force that shaped the development of Celestial Park. And having looked at, doing Epic Universe construction videos up here about the progress, we had talked about many times there that they want to put the park back in theme park, and they are definitely doing that. You can see the last update where the entrance area of Epic Universe almost looks like a forest now. So there's going to be a ton of trees, which this is another aspect outside of just the attractions of Epic Universe, is this whole idea of it being an actual like park, having ambiance, like, things to check out. I'm very curious about a lot of this Celestial Park in that it's supposed to function, like a park almost. I think some people have said before, almost like a central park of the actual theme park itself. So I definitely like that aspect of it as well. Celestial Park will have 26 gardens, each with individual theming and different plants. Some of the gardens are connected story-wise to restaurants or attractions. Says, quote, they are more for aesthetic beauty of relaxation and appreciating nature, Gene said. That's again something I love. I think a lot of theme parks as time has gone on have lost that idea of an ambience in the park. And it's really easy to just try and jam IPs and attractions in because it's, it can really get into more of just crowd capacity. What new ride? Let's put it in here. Will it fit? Maybe we'll put it in here anyways because we need things to soak up people. I love the idea that they're thinking beyond, like, obviously they're building rides and attractions and lands that people want, but they're also thinking about this ambiance aspect to it, which I think a lot of theme parks, especially given the latest updates, let's say at Disney, that a lot of the ambiance aspects of those parks are going away to try and build more things. And again, not against more attractions, but I do think there is a balance between attractions and things that, soak up crowds and things to do. And there's also the balance of having ambiance in your park. So I do love the aspect that this is something they're thinking a lot about. It says, regarding the transition from day to night, Gene said they have a, quote, big transformation planned. The story behind the show is that Apollo, the god of the sun, takes care of the radiance of the day. At dusk, he passes the baton to Luna, the goddess of the moon, who is in charge of the luminescence of the night. A ceremony with beautiful music will slowly bring the lights up, growing with swells of the music until a burst of light followed by a dance of light throughout everything, the plants, the trees, and the buildings. That sounds pretty cool. It's like a fireworks of light, Gene said. After the ceremony is complete, the land is fully lit for the evening. Celestial Park will have a completely custom soundtrack, the most custom music Universal has ever commissioned. That's a cool aspect. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy like Islands of Adventure soundtrack that they have, so I think that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, this idea of a transition from day to night again, a theming with the land, like I don't recall seeing this in theme parks before. Maybe there used to be ones before I really started going to theme parks, but I don't recall it personally that I remember. Cloud added how Stardust Racers, formerly known as Starfall Racers, will also change at night. The dueling coaster is one of Universal's largest ever, and they've chosen to not light the coaster track at night. This means the intricate pulsing lights on the coaster trains will have a chance to shine, making them look more like comets shooting through the night sky. Which we had known that they had mentioned this before, but I can imagine at nighttime that this ride is much more intense, given that the track is not lit up, and you're just going to be riding this basically with your ride train lit up, and that's it. So I can imagine this is going to be a little bit more intense at night, and being able to see it look like a comet shooting like in the sky in the park. I think ambiance wise, that sounds like it'll be pretty cool as well. Another Celestial Park attraction is Constellation Carousel, but Cloward said that he doesn't like to call the ride a carousel. He says it is, quote, so much more than a carousel. The ride system consists of 4 ride tables. There's one large surface with 3 smaller tables inside. All of them can function and rotate independently. Each ride vehicle also has its own independent pitch and yaw, so they can turn, rotate, and go up or down. They can go 6 feet in the air. Different constellations like Ursa Major, Big Dipper inspired the ride vehicles. The animal vehicles include lions, dragons, and peacocks. Cloward and Gene predict guests will pick their favorites and want to come back to ride different ones. Constellation Carousel will have 8 different music tracks, so guests waiting in the queue probably won't hear the same program more than twice. Gene said it's like a, quote, like a bejeweled music box. Constellation Carousel is one, from the concept art and looking at it and like their descriptions here, I'm very intrigued by it because a carousel is a carousel essentially, but this is taking the concept of a carousel and seemingly just adding these really cool elements to it. They didn't mention here, but it's also going to have projection stuff up top to make it look like there's stars in there. Like it, first off, from the outside, I think there's a picture of it right here. It just looks unique and like very like pretty. And just the ideas of this, I felt like all along it would have been really easy. Again, I gave them kudos because it would be very easy to just put a carousel in, but it's taking the concept of carousel and going above and beyond and adding these elements to it that I just think are very unique and something that I don't think people expect, but I think once they see it, I have the idea that would be like, wow, this is really cool. And again, it's taking something simple and making it very unique. The last Celestial Park attraction is Astronomica, a splash pad with a compass rose design. It can act as its own set of fountains, but also be programmed to link with, quote, maybe one of the major fountain shows. Gene was careful not to say it definitely would link to the other shows. It also has its own soundtrack, which the Fountain Jets interact with. The main show is called the Cosmos. The water jets can shoot higher than the Universal Helios Grand Hotel. Wow. But they said, but, quote, we're going to probably try not to because we know how the wind gets in Florida. And if we did that, we would drench everyone in the park, which is a valid point because there is a fountain here near, not far from us. And when it gets windy, everybody just ends up getting wet. So that's a valid point that they have on that right there. All right, moving forward, they go on to talk about the Atlantic restaurant. Says the Atlantic is the land's fine dining restaurant meant to resemble a giant Victorian aquarium. The outside is all glass, inside mechanical fish or biomechanical lanterns, Gene says, swim across the ceiling. So even people outside can look in and see fish moving through the aquarium. Real cast bronze sculptures also decorate Atlantic. This is going to be a very expensive restaurant, so I'm looking forward to maybe one day getting a drink and maybe giving an appetizer and checking this place out because who knows? But I think it looks really cool. I think it gives me like Atlantean vibes, obviously being called the Atlantic, but it also kind of gives me like Great Gatsby vibes, which is one thing I like about Celestial Park is that it doesn't have just one sort of like theming motif, seemingly combines all these different types of things with it. Given the fact you're behind glass, it's supposed to look like an aquarium inside, like from the outside in, it looks like an aquarium. And then on the inside, you get to see this fountain show while you eat. I just think it looks really cool. I think it's a very unique looking restaurant. And then in terms of food, I'll have another one here. It says another restaurant is the Oaken Star, a Traveler's Crossroads barbecue restaurant. It's decorated with murals of little critters and stained glass panels. And the last restaurant is the Blue Dragon, a Pan-Asian restaurant. It says it's always nighttime inside Blue Dragon, which resembles a market with a patio and bar, and lanterns move up and down in the space. There are a couple of restaurants that are currently under construction in Celestial Park as well that they didn't mention here, but they again, I think this podcast episodes were recorded months ago. So it's either this was added later on or they just wasn't ready at that time. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least a couple more. But either way, plenty of food options to choose from when you're in Celestial Park. But I mean, all in all, when it comes to Celestial Park, I give them a lot of credit again because it would have been really easy to just throw up a park, have lands you go into, and make it as simple. But the idea that they're doing it the harder way in that they're going into these details of having a backstory, not just for each land, but the entire park that encompasses all the lands. And just this idea too of like having the understanding of theme parks to have ambiance of everything. Because I think it's really, again, attractions are great. Everybody wants attractions. I want attractions, but I also want ambiance in the park. I want to be able to go to a place that's quiet. Our kids aren't as small now, but when they were little, a lot of times it's really hard to find a place when you have a stroller and a little kid in there to take a nap. And I like the idea that families can go in here and find quiet spots in this park, perhaps to take a nap and be near a fountain, and the kid can nap. The parent can sit there and hang out and just relax for a little bit. Or the grandpa on a trip or the dad on a trip just wants to get away from all the noise and obviously the hubbub of a theme park and just go to a place to just relax and just, have some quiet time. I think those are good things to have. Plus trees. Again, it is Florida. It's hot. It's the devil's backyard. And it's nice to have trees and shade. And a lot of time, theme parks have become urban jungles. And again, the entire story with it about, you got this ancient civilization perhaps angle with it. You've got this mythological angle with it. You've got this nighttime show that's separate from the nighttime fireworks show. I just think they've gone, from what I've seen, they've gone above and beyond. And the more I learn about Celestial Park, I'm not going to be surprised on some level if this becomes my favorite part of the park, given I love the idea of this original IP in it. It seems to me it's old school storytelling of really trying to whisk you away from your everyday life into this other place. And again, that's what Walt did with Magic Kingdom. The reason you have to take a monorail or a boat, or I suppose a bus to get over into Magic Kingdom is because he wanted you to feel like you couldn't just park in the parking lot and walk in. You were leaving your current world and going somewhere else. And I like the idea of that. And I think that's the spirit of this park. And I think you're seeing a lot of the former Disney Imagineers that work for Universal now. I think you're really seeing them maybe being allowed to just really say, hey, go for it. Like, come up with an idea and do this, because it's been a while since we've seen an original IP in a theme park like this and really prove a concept, which I would be all for, which is more just not everything having to be an IP. I think of this, I assume that Epic Universe will go well and Celestial Park will go over well. I love the idea of proving this concept out and saying, yeah, we can do stuff like this. Not every single land has to be an IP. So all the stuff I'm hearing, I'm looking forward to a lot. And in terms of, more information coming out, I suppose we could still get a video on like Helios, and that is another aspect to this as well that I find very interesting. And I could see Universal doing a video on that. Now, in terms of going forward with more information, obviously the thing everyone's waiting on is an opening date. I kind of assume we might see something anytime now, given Disney just had D23. Kind of felt like whatever thunder Disney would have from that, maybe Universal would try and steal by saying, "Hey, here's when our park's going to open." The assumption being, Steve Tatham, the lead head creative director of Epic Universe, had basically said it would be opening in the early part of 2025. So ideally, we would be getting an announcement anytime, maybe this month about that. There are rumors about it being delayed. So I suppose if it is delayed, we may not hear anything this month and maybe going more toward the fall. We'll have to wait and see on that. I don't know. But in the meantime, if Universal wants to release more information through podcasts like this, where you can talk about this stuff for 30 to 60 minutes and really go in depth, I'm all for it. I love that. I'm at the point now. I just want more information. I want to know more about all this stuff, and you really just sort of geek out on it is where I'm at. And of course, whatever I hear about, I will make a video and let everybody hear and know about it, because I enjoy talking about this stuff. But that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Epic Universe, Universal Studios, Disney World, and pop culture news. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about Celestial Park? And do you think this idea is a refreshing, cool one? Or do you think this is just sort of going to be a whatever area of the park? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.